It's still hard to believe what we heard come out of Kody Brown's mouth. After all these years of watching Sister Wives, through the laughter, the tears, the promises of forever family, it still hits like a punch in the stomach hearing him call his own children her kids. Not our kids, not my children, but hers, like they were strangers who just happened to share his DNA. And if it weren't for his brother quietly correcting him on camera, maybe Kody wouldn't have even noticed how cruel that sounded. That single moment said everything about where his heart really is. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah, and welcome back to TLC's Sister Wives Daily. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the real stories behind Sister Wives, the kind you won't hear sugar-coated. And to everyone who's been following this family with me from the beginning, thank you for being here again. We've been through a lot together, but what's happening now between Kody, Robyn, Christine, and the kids might be the hardest chapter to watch yet. You can actually see the wall Kody has built around himself. The distance isn't just emotional anymore. It's visible in his face, his body language, the way he talks about Christine like she's an inconvenience instead of the woman who stood beside him for decades. What kind of father separates himself from his own children just because their mother finally found the strength to walk away? The bitterness has become its own character in this story. There was a time when Kody loved calling his family a team. He would stand in front of the cameras and talk about unity, faith, and commitment. Now, he can't even say Christine's name without grimacing. His words drip with resentment, not love, not even closure. And the saddest part is that his anger isn't just directed at Christine. It's spilling onto their children. When he says he doesn't want to interact with them because he's angry at her, that's not just parental frustration. That's cruelty. Those kids didn't ask for any of this. Watching that scene, it felt like a mask finally cracked. For years, the show painted Kody as a man juggling impossible emotions. But what we're seeing now isn't confusion. It's ego. He's not broken because his family fell apart. He's furious because Christine took away his control. And Robyn, sitting quietly beside him, seems to absorb that bitterness instead of challenging it. Together, they've turned what used to be a family into a fortress, one built on resentment, excuses, and denial. In this episode, we're pulling apart the truth behind Kody and Robyn's anger, why they can't let go, why the pain they caused is still echoing through the lives of Christine and her kids. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, the picture becomes painfully clear. This was never about faith or family unity. It was about control. And what happens when the people you've controlled finally walk away? Kody Brown's recent behavior has exposed something far darker than just a man struggling through a breakup. It's the unraveling of a self-created illusion. For years, he's called himself the spiritual leader of his family, a man chosen to guide 4 wives and 18 children under one roof. But lately, the leader we see on screen looks less like a man of faith and more like someone desperately clinging to control, rewriting reality to avoid facing his own failure. Every word out of Kody's mouth lately feels detached, almost hollow. When he talks about Christine, his tone isn't one of heartbreak, it's disdain. He says he's angry and doesn't even want to say her name, as if erasing her existence could erase his guilt. The man who once preached about family unity now refuses to even acknowledge the mother of his children. In one episode, his bitterness practically oozes from the screen as he declares he doesn't want to interact with the kids because he's mad at her. That's not leadership. That's emotional abandonment, disguised as righteous anger. And it's that anger that reveals the delusion at the heart of Kody's mindset. He genuinely seems to believe he's the victim here, the misunderstood husband betrayed by a disloyal wife and ungrateful children. But anyone watching can see the pattern. When things go wrong, it's never Kody's fault. He blames Christine for poisoning the kids, claims his family fell apart because of disobedience, and paints himself as the martyr who tried to hold everyone together. Yet the footage tells a different story, one of a man so obsessed with obedience and control that he forgot love was supposed to be the foundation. Kody's version of leadership has always depended on loyalty, not earned, but demanded. The moment someone, especially a woman, questions him or sets a boundary, he interprets it as rebellion. His words betray that mindset constantly. He doesn't speak to people. He speaks about them, assigning blame and rewriting motives. In his mind, Christine didn't leave because she was lonely and unloved. She left because she didn't have faith. That's not self-reflection. That's delusion. What makes it even more disturbing is how deeply Kody seems to believe his own narrative. His tone isn't performative anymore. It's convinced. He sees himself as the wronged man, the betrayed father, the only one who truly tried. But you can't claim to be the family's spiritual anchor while cutting emotional ties with your own children. You can't preach about divine love while harboring this much bitterness. And that's the tragic irony. Kody's pain is self-inflicted. He's built his own emotional prison, brick by brick, out of pride and resentment. The more he blames others, the more isolated he becomes. His refusal to see Christine's humanity, or his children's hurt, has turned him into the very thing he accuses them of being: cold, distant, and faithless. Watching him now, it's clear. Kody hasn't just lost his family, he's lost touch with reality. For Christine and Kody's children, the emotional fallout of this family war isn't just happening behind closed doors. It's playing out on national television. Imagine being one of those kids, sitting at home, watching your father, the man who taught you about loyalty, faith, and love, publicly insult your mother and distance himself from you. When Kody called them her kids, it wasn't just a slip of the tongue. It was a knife twist, a confirmation of what they'd feared for years, that their father had emotionally checked out long before the cameras caught it. That single phrase, her kids, carries a lifetime of rejection. For children who once called him dad, it's more than hurtful. It's identity-shattering. Because no matter how strong Christine tries to be, her children see the truth every time they watch their father's interviews. They see him dismiss their memories, twist the past, and talk about their mother like she was the family's downfall. What kind of message does that send to a child who's just trying to understand why their family fell apart? Throughout the later seasons of Sister Wives, we've seen flashes of that pain surface. Isabel, trying to stay strong while her father skipped her major surgery because of COVID concerns. Gwendolyn, quietly admitting that her relationship with him feels distant and complicated. Even Mykelti, once one of the more neutral siblings, couldn't hide her frustration when she saw how Christine was treated. These aren't rebellious teenagers or biased storytellers. These are grown children processing years of emotional neglect under the bright, unblinking eye of reality TV. It's not just about the missed birthdays or the lack of phone calls. It's the emotional silence that hurts the most. The kids have watched their father pour all his energy into defending his marriage with Robyn, while showing almost no interest in repairing relationships with the rest of his children. Every time Kody goes on camera and blames Christine for turning the kids against him, he's missing the real issue. They didn't turn away because their mother poisoned them. They turned away because he stopped showing up. That bitterness, the one he clings to like armor, is the poison. It's what keeps this family fractured. The more Kody insists he's the victim, the deeper the divide grows. And the kids, now old enough to see through the excuses, have every right to be angry. Their mother didn't just leave a marriage, she escaped emotional chaos. Yet they're the ones left picking up the emotional debris, the confusion, the resentment, the loss of trust. And maybe that's what hurts the most. These kids didn't ask to be part of a plural family experiment. They were promised love, guidance, and a sense of unity under God. Instead, they got public humiliation, emotional distance, and a father who seems more devoted to defending his ego than healing his home. Their anger isn't rebellion, it's heartbreak. It's the sound of children finally realizing that the man they once called dad loves control more than connection. Robyn Brown has often been described as the woman Kody kept, not because she demanded it, though some viewers would argue otherwise, but because Kody built his entire post-family identity around protecting her. In his mind, Robyn became the last piece of proof that he could still lead, still love, still hold authority over something. When the other wives questioned his choices or stood up for themselves, he labeled it disloyalty. But when Robyn did the same, it was honesty. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Kody's obsession with keeping Robyn safe went far beyond affection. It became a symbol, his version of success in a collapsing system. As the other wives struggled emotionally and financially, he poured everything into building a fortress around Robyn. The home he bought for her wasn't just big, it was monumental, a physical statement that screamed, "This is the life I choose." While Janelle and Christine were working to pay bills, selling property or downsizing, Robyn's family lived in comfort, surrounded by security cameras, designer furniture, and Kody's constant presence. But that kind of hierarchy doesn't come without a cost. Every moment Kody spent keeping Robyn safe was another reminder to his other wives that their own safety, emotional or otherwise, didn't matter. The women who helped him build the Brown family from the ground up, who bore his children and shared the sacrifices, were left to watch from the sidelines as he funneled his time, money, and affection into one household. It wasn't love that drove him, it was control. Robyn's protected life gave him a sense of dominance, something he'd lost when Christine found the strength to walk away. For Christine, that realization must have been unbearable. Imagine standing in a modest kitchen, watching your ex-husband move into a sprawling mansion with the woman who was once your sister wife, a woman who now enjoys the stability your years of sacrifice helped create. Christine's heartache wasn't about jealousy, it was about justice. She'd spent decades trying to live the principles of plural marriage, sharing, compromising, believing in equality, only to discover that the man who preached unity was building his kingdom around favoritism. And Robyn's role in that imbalance can't be ignored. Whether she intended to or not, she benefited from the very system that broke the others. While Christine was holding back tears in confessionals, explaining how invisible she'd become, Robyn was talking about loyalty and faithfulness, terms that in Kody's world only seemed to apply when they served his narrative. That's what makes this so hard to watch. The Brown family once stood for something bigger. At least, that's what viewers hoped. But now, Robyn's comfortable life and Kody's fixation on protecting it stand as symbols of what plural marriage became for them. A hierarchy built on insecurity, fear, and denial. The kept woman wasn't a romantic title. It was the crown of inequality. And Christine, watching it all unfold, finally realized that no amount of faith could fix what favoritism had already destroyed. When Christine finally chose herself, it wasn't a dramatic act of rebellion. It was quiet, steady courage, built over years of heartbreak. Fans had watched her hold that family together through exhaustion, rejection, and broken promises. When she said she was done, it wasn't out of anger. It was peace, the kind that comes when you realize you've given every piece of yourself and still aren't seen. In Sister Wives, we saw it in her face the moment she told Kody she no longer believed in their marriage. There was sadness, yes, but also freedom. The weight of decades lifted as she finally walked away from being treated like an afterthought. Christine's book and her later interviews confirmed what viewers had sensed all along. She didn't leave because she stopped loving her family. She left because she refused to keep shrinking for it. She talked about feeling lonely in plural marriage, about being in the same room with a man who made her feel invisible. That kind of pain doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly every time your husband spends another holiday somewhere else, every time you're told your emotions are too much, every time your faith is used to silence your needs. Her leaving shattered the illusion Kody had built about himself. For years, he presented as the head of a united, plural family, a spiritual leader with all wives in harmony under his authority. Christine's exit ripped that mask off. Suddenly, the man who preached love and unity was exposed as a husband clinging to control, not connection. His interviews after her departure weren't about heartbreak. They were about betrayal. He called her selfish, accused her of breaking the covenant, and framed her independence as an attack on him. But his words revealed more about his ego than her actions. Kody's resentment doesn't come from losing Christine's love. It comes from losing his power over her. For the first time, she stopped playing the part he expected. The obedient wife who waited for scraps of attention. He couldn't process that she no longer feared his disappointment, and rather than face his failures, he chose anger. He told cameras he didn't even want to say her name. That bitterness wasn't heartbreak. It was humiliation. Christine had reclaimed the narrative. She walked away smiling, surrounded by her kids, cooking, laughing, building a new home in Utah, living proof that joy is possible after control. Meanwhile, Kody's story became smaller. His world narrowed to Robyn's house, his temper, and his endless explanations. The more he tried to defend himself, the more transparent his bitterness became. Christine's healing was his undoing, because it forced him to confront the truth. Love built on fear was never love at all. Christine didn't destroy the family. She revealed what was already broken. And by choosing her peace over his pride, she became the one thing Kody could never be: free. Kody Brown has turned rewriting history into an art form. Every time the cameras roll, it feels like he's trying to edit the past into something that flatters him. He paints himself as the misunderstood patriarch, surrounded by ungrateful wives who never appreciated how hard he worked. To hear him tell it, Christine's joy is fake, Janelle's independence is disrespect, and Mary's heartbreak is her own fault. It's always someone else who changed, never him. He's rewritten the story so often that even his words sound rehearsed, as if he's trying to convince himself as much as the audience. One of the most revealing moments came when Kody talked about poisoned memories. He said Christine had poisoned the family's memories of him, turning their children against their father. But that statement exposes his entire mindset. Instead of looking at the years of emotional neglect, the broken promises, or the way he openly favored Robyn, he insists that Christine somehow brainwashed everyone. It's a perfect example of his denial. He can't face his own role in the destruction, so he rewrites the script to protect his ego. When Kody talks about his family now, he acts like the victim of a conspiracy instead of the architect of his own collapse. He frames Christine's freedom as betrayal, her confidence as manipulation, and her happiness as proof that she never truly loved him. That's the cruelest irony. The idea that her peace somehow causes his misery. In his mind, if she's thriving, it must mean she wronged him. It's the emotional logic of a man who cannot stand to see someone find joy without him in the center of it. Watching this unfold, fans have noticed how much his language has shifted. He no longer talks about faith or family. He talks about loyalty, obedience, and punishment. He's less a father trying to mend relationships, and more a man guarding his wounded pride. And that's what makes it so tragic, because Kody's victim narrative doesn't just rewrite history, it erases everyone else's truth. The wife's pain becomes jealousy. The children's distance becomes disrespect. Every real emotion gets rebranded as betrayal. But this revisionism has a cost. You can't rebuild a family when you refuse to admit what broke it. The more Kody edits the past, the lonelier he becomes in the present. His denial has created an emotional vacuum where empathy should be. And the sad truth is, the family doesn't hate him. They're just tired of living in a version of reality that only serves him. Kody's refusal to take responsibility isn't just stubbornness. It's emotional immaturity disguised as authority. He can't grow because he won't grieve. Instead of confronting loss, he blames it on the people who stopped tolerating his control. That's why every new confession feels like déjà vu. The same self-pity, the same excuses, the same blind spot where accountability should be. His victim story might make him feel safe, but it keeps him trapped. The last man standing in a house he helped burn down. It's impossible to watch this family's story without feeling something deep. Sadness, frustration, maybe even a bit of hope. Because underneath all the shouting, the tears, and the fractured relationships, there's a universal truth about what it means to break free from control and choose peace over chaos. Christine, Janelle, and even Mary, in their own ways, have shown that it takes real courage to walk away from emotional manipulation and say, "I deserve better." These women didn't just survive a crumbling plural marriage. They reclaimed their identities after years of being told their worth depended on someone else's approval. And the children, they carry both the scars and the strength of what they witnessed. They saw their parents' love story turn into a power struggle. They learned what silence can cost, but they also learned what it looks like when a parent finally chooses happiness. Christine's kids, especially, have become symbols of resilience. They've watched their mother rebuild her life from scratch, not out of revenge but out of self-respect. There's something profoundly healing about seeing them laugh with her now, living without tension, just existing without fear of being blamed for someone else's anger. What this family's story really exposes is how manipulation hides behind love when accountability disappears. Kody's downfall isn't just about ego. It's about what happens when someone mistakes control for care. He wanted obedience when what his family needed was empathy, and maybe that's the lesson for all of us watching. Love isn't proven through authority. It's proven through listening, through humility, through showing up even when it's uncomfortable. I think that's why so many people connect to this show. It's not just gossip or drama. It's a mirror. We've all known someone who refuses to take responsibility, who twists the story to stay the hero. We've all watched someone cling to control instead of choosing growth, and maybe that's why Christine's journey feels so powerful, because it's about more than leaving a marriage. It's about choosing truth over illusion, self-worth over survival. To everyone who's followed this saga, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe Kody will ever take responsibility for what he's done? Do you think he even sees the damage? Or is he too lost in his own story to recognize it? Tell me in the comments. I read every one of them, and your insights always remind me why this community matters. I'm Sarah, and this is TLC's Sister Wives Daily. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you for caring about the truth, for wanting to understand the people behind the headlines. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because this story isn't over. There are still lessons to learn, voices to hear, and truths to uncover. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, real love never asks you to lose yourself to keep it.